In a world where carrying DBL is not the only thing to break Toshi's back, lives one potato whose mastery over cringe enables likes and dislikes all over the interweb. His name, Sir Potato Potato. Welcome to the Potato School.
Yes, hello today. Look, so we're going to be doing, obviously, the USTR. You're going to get to see what I was actually doing and that sort of thing. And I'm going to show you a run that I failed during stream. The link down below in the description for the actual stream where I failed. It was a 6-hour long stream, so you don't have to stay for that long. Although there are some that finished it. Anyways, so I will explain my choices as to why I picked them. Also, this is completely unedited, so you're going to see this in its entirety. I did succeed, and I will be leaving timestamps as the pinned comments. That way, if you don't want to see certain fights, you don't have to. Anyways, I picked EX Zangia, EX Chi-Chi, and Purple Zenkai 7 Caulifla, and the reason for this was mainly because I was also trying to complete the challenges that were given to me by the actual event too, while also trying to do this with no support units, no RR, and you have to kill them in one go. So if I don't kill all of their health in the one set of timer counts of 200, I fail. So basically, the reason I picked Zangia over, if you look on stream, I used Kale and Caulifla, the assist, because I realized I needed them for a later fight. So I realized who can actually abuse consistent attacks as well, just like Kale and Caulifla. And I realized, well, EX Zangia is actually perfect for this. Her green card just gives her key and 2 new cards every single time, and I figured that's great. On top of that, Chi-Chi's actually a pretty good buffer because she's a permanent 30% buffer as long as you're switching out, I believe, or switch in. I can't remember which one it is. Basically, either or, switch in or switch out. That's what usually I do with her. It'll give you 10%, and you do that 3 times for max total of 30% to everyone, and that's great. So obviously that's been fantastic. It really helps the team, and it makes them stronger. And as you can notice, the damage is actually going up higher and higher every single time, and that's great. On top of that, she fixes up card quality and health and key recovery with her main ability, which is great. So we like that, and obviously we're going to take it. Also, it buffs, I think, her blast damage, so that's nice too. But yeah, basically, the idea behind this, and the reason why I picked Caulifla, specifically the Zenkai 7, is because I need someone that can reliably take down Beerus. As you can see, her damage isn't exactly exceptional against Beerus, but what is really nice about it is because there's constant switch-ins and switch-outs, or alternatively, because she's constantly getting buffed by Chi-Chi and herself, she's able to actually do decent damage against even the purples. Now, obviously, Zangia's great against these purples, so whenever I have the chance to bring her in, I will, because it's definitely more beneficial than using Caulifla. However, that's not to say that if I have to use Caulifla, I won't. She's great for those situations still, so that's really nice. And as you can see, we're basically breezing through this fight. There's really not much to say else at this point. The idea behind this is exactly what you expect. Just basically drift, attack, drift, attack. Nothing else. There's really nothing else to this fight at all. So, yeah. And Chi-Chi finishes that off. Nicely done. Can't believe I just said nicely done to myself. Like, I'm just reviewing this, basically. So, there you go. And at this point, it doesn't matter if Zangia dies. She's done her job. It's really now just on Chi-Chi and Caulifla. And as you can see, we have 83 timer counts to take out 7 bars of health. So it's definitely going to be doable. And as you can see, we haven't clicked the RR once. Mainly because if I click the RR, I lose the challenge. So there you have it. So at this point on, we're just going to fast forward. Because I'm going to fast forward just a little bit so you guys get to see it in its a little bit speedier version. And I'll see you guys in pretty much the next fight in a little bit, so. Alright, so at round 2, the idea here is that we're picking these specific 3 for a very good reason, and you're going to see which 3 I'm referring to in a moment. So the blue 18 is really there to deal with the 2 reds, obviously. The red cell is actually there to do tanking, as well as to increase the damage that we can deal. And then the purple is actually there for quick burst kills against the green, and as well even the reds, because he's actually quite solid. He gets critical rate up, he increases his overall base damage, he draws a blast 3 times upon switch in, which is great, and you're about to see in a moment what we can do with that. So boom, we get key up, but look at how much damage he's dealing. It's actually quite good for an EX at 5 stars, so that's really nice. As you can see, even when we're locked in, we're not really too, we're not too worried. We're just waiting for this Vegeta to do anything, because one thing you want to do is be the second person to make an action, not the first, ever, when it comes to AIs. Because if you do the actions first, usually they PV you and then they kill you. So as you can see, that's a switch in, so we're going to switch into the red because he's great at dealing with the green as well. Now, we're going to try to go for maybe the feint in a moment. But it doesn't really matter if we get the feint or not. Just the damage alone is nice. But we did get the feint. And now what we did up is we're increasing our overall damage. As you can see, we have the critical buff. And we're just going to go straight in. And there you go. 2 card arts is all it takes to kill him. Now we wait, and look at the damage. Now, of course, the blue will still be better than the purple for damage, but with that being said, it's still really good that we were able to actually deal the damage that's necessary. Now, the reason why red cell I want to make sure is at full health is in case that we get attacked by any sort of ult, we'll be able to tank with him, because he actually can tank their ults, like any of these 3 units' ults, extremely well. Even at Zenkai 3, which I find very impressive. So, the idea is to keep him healthy as possible, just so that way we can actually deal as much damage as possible with the other 2. Now, with that being said, if I have to lose one of the 2 units between the purple and the blue, I would rather lose the purple. Because the purple, as much as it's helpful against the green, the red can deal with the green just as effectively. Well, not just as effectively, but effectively enough because of his debuffer, a skill. That passive, better to say, so, to the point where it's fine. And as you can see, we're pretty much we're sailing through this fight. Honestly, got a PV, so we're just going to go straight in with another drift into a kill. They're going to switch into their green. I'm just going to vanish out of that and just deal some damage. We're going to switch over, give him a big ka-chow, and this allows us to, even though he got his everything back, and he will now have double lock-in again, we're at least in a good situation where, again, no one has really taken any damage, and we can essentially just go through this as if it's nobody's business. So that's nice. And we got a PV again, so we're just gonna basically abuse PVs because the AI is giving it to us. Oh, Eddie, chill, buddy. That was my dog. He walked straight into my stuff. He's a good boy though, so I don't really care. Okay, so over here we got rid of our blue, but only because we really needed to keep combos up. So at this point, you guys have seen everything you need to see, so I'm going to speed it up, and I'll see you when we get to the next fight. All right, so round 3. A lot of people were interested in this round because as Goku Black Rose, the LL, has got hit and has got this Trunks. And there's a lot of health. Now, normally in the stream, I used Android 21, Zenkai 6, I believe. But in this one, I decided to use Kakunza because I realized Hit is a wet willy and can easily take damage. So I figured I can already do damage with Vados and Blue 21 Zenkai 7 to the point where I don't actually need 21 Zenkai Purple. And it made me realize that I was picking the wrong units for the wrong fights. And this is going to be a clear demonstration as to why I believe so and why I messed up royally. Now, as you can see, we're going to be doing tons of damage. So there you go. As you can see, hit is going to take a lot of damage. And that's a PV into a blast, so the nice thing about what I did was I get my Vanish Gauge back because of the main ability with Kunza, which is just really good. And another thing is, even though we don't have a red for this fight, blue 21 really acts as the red for this yellow just because of her ability to debuff the opponent, which is obviously phenomenal. We really want those, and we'll take them. And then the fact that we can constantly switch in and out with Vados constantly gives us a whole bunch of key to work with, which is great. So now we're just waiting for a tackle or an attack, so that way we can just, you know, get ourselves ready. Luckily, he didn't vanish on us on that one, so we're good. And now we can just switch out and go straight in. And if you're wondering why I'm standing and then throwing the attack, instead of just throwing the attack, it's because I'm doing kind of like a stand drift, so a float step, but without moving. And it works the exact same way as a float step. It's just that it doesn't recover as much ki at the same speed, so that's the only thing. And it doesn't bring cards as fast unless you have card draw speed. But it's a nice way to just chill if you don't feel like you can do the timing of the drift properly. So it's something you could try out and see if you like that better than the drift. It's definitely not as effective, but it definitely still works. Now, I do it sometimes when I'm just feeling, you know, lazy. But if you find it yourself struggling, it could be a very good skill to use. So now we're at about 113 timer counts left, and as you can see, we've broken 2 units, and just not Rose. You might be wondering, well, can he make it then? Yeah, for sure. Because I deal way more damage than the timer counts are going. So as long as I can kill one of these units very, very soon, we'll be very good. And because Hit's near the end of his life anyways, he's pretty much considered dead. And since everyone's now broken, and we still, even though it's taken me, I would say, a little bit over half, the fact that everyone's more than damaged to more than halfway means that I'm actually doing good in regards to pacing. And pacing is extremely important in this because you really want to make sure that, especially when you're doing this type of challenge, that you're able to know how far you need to be in at specific intervals within the timer counts to know if the run is worth saving or whether you should just restart. Sometimes it's actually better to know when you've lost than to keep going when you've lost. I realized that during my stream that I would keep trying even though when it was pretty much over. And that was a mistake. But it's just nice to see that, you know, I can actually gauge how far I need to be. Something that I couldn't do during stream, and I'm very pleased that I'm able to now. And as you can see, even though we have only 59 timer counts left, the hit is almost basically, is pretty much confirmed dead. Just needs to take one more hit and is gone. And then the yellow Trunks barely has any life left in him, which is great. So it shouldn't be long now before they're all essentially completely removed. And since Rose is now in even, I think, worse shape than the yellow Trunks, we're actually looking pretty good. Nice. And then we're also another reason why I picked Vados for this fight is because she gets substitution count down, which is enormous help. Like, it's, I can't even stress enough how much it actually helps in regards to being able to constantly switch and deal with these particular units. So as you can see, everyone's pretty much in kill range, which is phenomenal. And that just makes my life so much easier when it comes to actually, well, obviously killing these units. Okay, so we're going to get, again, the ability to switch out in a moment. And that's another one dead. And now we're down to the final unit that we have to kill, and that's it. Now, obviously, I did not skip, like, I didn't speed through any of this fight, only because I felt like it was unnecessary. And now it's just a matter of if we win this, and if we do, it's over. So there you go. With, I think, 19 timer counts left, yeah, we win. So we definitely had enough time that even if we were in the last 10 timer counts, we definitely would have made it. So it was really easy. This fight is not what I was worried about. What I was actually worried about is the next fight, because I switched this up really drastically from what I did on stream. And if this didn't work out, then I thought that the run was unwinnable, essentially. So I, instead of picking Android 18, and instead of picking the units I actually picked during the stream, like Android 18, the yellow and red one, as well as the purple cell, I went for a full strong team. Like, I went for red Trunks and I went for Kale and Cauliflower, which I normally use in round 1. And then I used the Android 21 Evil, which I used in round 3 normally, to actually deal with this round. So you're going to see exactly why I use these ones instead of what I normally did. So as you can see here, even though this is not it was purple to purple, I did it to actually regain ki. Because I figured it was better to just keep tempo up than to completely lose out on tempo. And over here, I'm using my green despite having Vanish Gauge because I'm trying my best to actually have a combo for my opponent, which is not something you want to not have, especially in USTR. Especially since now I can just abuse double green in order to be able to vanish no matter what. Now, I overshot this. I did not need to use double green here, but I guess it's fine considering greens tend to flood the hands really, really badly, and we really don't want that. So being able to use up our greens in a productive manner is really nice. And Android 21, despite her green being really good in some cases, in PvE it's actually not very good, only because you really don't want to reset to neutral, especially when you're dealing with timer counts. In an event where timer counts aren't a concern because there's not a lot of health bars, her green's actually great, but in a USTR run, it's actually one of the worst greens to possibly use, because even though it time freezes, it resets things to neutral, and if the AI chooses to waste timer counts, there is almost nothing you can do about it, which is something that you do not want to have. Now, on the other hand, her switch-in and constant draw of a strike, as well as her constant key recovery is fantastic, but again, once you can see here, we got double green, which sucks, so we're going to use up some of the greens just to potentially draw a blast if we can, either that or PV into then eventually a strike. And as you can see, I was drifting here, and the reason for it is pretty simple. I was thinking that if I had to kill Lavender, I wanted the ability to use a green again to vanish, but since they switched, I figured it didn't matter anymore. So now we're going to use a green to get some power-up. Normally it would also heal, but it was mainly for the power-ups and the key recovery, which is really good. And here you go. So we're essentially just going into this. We're still only, not even, I think, 70 timer counts in yet. And we've already broken one, almost broken the other. And obviously Bergadmo is going to be the big issue. At least that's what I thought. But you're going to find out in this run that this team is actually quite effective. And I was actually genuinely shocked by that. So it was nice. It was nice. You're gonna see what I mean. So there you go. And yeah, so we are basically abusing PVs because we're essentially catching the AI exactly when we expect them to attack, which is really good because it just basically saves me on timer counts and it makes my life that much easier. Now, Lavender is going to die, which is great. So, as you can see, 21 can burst through even color neutral fights, which is fantastic. Now, I'm not sure why I didn't switch to Kale and Cauliflower at that moment, but it's fine. It doesn't really matter realistically, because we are about to hit him with a giant, massive blue card. And you're going to see the damage. So, it was really good. I very much enjoyed that. Alright, and then as you can see, we're wasting again the green. Again, part of the reason for it is we want to have combos ready, and because I have access to 21 that is able to give me key back, I figured it's just better to get a full hand of attack, and less so a hand dedicated to being tricky, because being tricky against the AI is not exactly what I would call important. In fact, it's just not important at all. Like, so It's important that we actually pay mind to that. We really realize that, okay, is my green card actually going to just mess me up, or is it going to help? Any green card in this fight that would reset to neutral is a bad green. So as you can see, I'm just throwing away my green once again, because there's no point. So I'm trying to wait for an attack before I do a switch, but then I switch because I realize I have the chance, and rightfully so. It was actually better that I did this. Mainly because that way I'm actually, you know, way ahead of the curve, got our ult in, and because no switch, I thought to myself, this is definitely going to kill, and I don't actually remember if it killed, but we're about to find out. Yeah, it did kill. Okay, so there you go. And then perfect switch to the next color advantage unit, going for another ult, just straight up. Hopefully going to land on it, but we didn't because Bergadmo decided to get in the way. So now the question was, could we hit this for a kill? Because if we could, that was great, but if we couldn't, then that was unfortunate, and we didn't. So as you can see, we're going to be wasting some more timer counts, but as you can see, we still have like 40-something seconds, and we've killed Bergadmo, and all that's left now is Lavender, which feels honestly fantastic, because Lavender cannot tank anyways as is. So the fact of the matter is that we were able to completely decimate this team within 40 timer counts remaining, when with Android 18, the very first time, the yellow one, very first time I did this, we had 1 timer count left, which was... So the difference was huge. And that's not to say that Android 18 couldn't actually deal with this. She did a very good job each time on this one run. But there was a reason why I saved her for round 5. And you're about to find out right now why Android 18 is super important for this round. Now, you might be wondering, well, if Android 18 is super important, why the feck did you not pick her as a leader? Well, because I wanted the full buffs for everyone, and Android 21 does not give Kefla the full buffs unless she's in the leader slot. Now, as you can see, I did this because I was thinking of cutting this up, so I was showing you guys how many units I used throughout the entire event, but then I was like, well, they might think that I RR'd throughout the first 4. I don't know, like, just for new viewers, just in case if you are like, you could have RR'd the first 4. Well, I didn't. So, there you go. I thought about breaking it up, but then I realized some my people might think that, you know, it wasn't the same run. I spliced it all together, and I figured it's just better if I just do this, right? So, as you can see, I missed here because I lost timing, but it's okay because I PV'd here, and now we're just going to go in. So, just like in the round 4 when I did this on stream, the concept is the same. Pretty much we're going to drift and deal as much damage as possible. Now, one thing to be aware of is, unfortunately, if Kefla or Jiren decide to use a strike card while I'm using a blast, there is almost nothing I can do to stop that. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, here I am doing sidesteps because I figured I don't want to actually even test or try against the drift, and I just want to deal as much damage as possible. So getting rid of my main ability and my ability to heal as well as my ult is something that I conscientiously decided to do because I figured it was better off than anything else that I had. And for some reason that didn't work. Everything just got stuck and locked, and as a result I'm going to get hit by this ult as well. So everything was just going horribly at this moment. I just accepted it and moved on. One of the worst things you can do during a PvE run is you take a look at this and decide the run's already over. Because I figured to myself, the run's not already over. In fact, the run just begun. So I can actually take this to my advantage and just keep going. And I did that. And as you can see, we did manage to break. And now we're going to tap attack because we want to make sure that either it's a clash or I take over. So it doesn't really matter. It just matters that we don't, mess this up. So as you can see, we're doing strikes again. Obviously, if we have to do blasts, we will. But if I can do strikes, I prefer strikes because that way there's only neutral clashes to, or I just take control of the fight. I only like my blasts when I'm doing a dodge because that allows me to start up the combo without having to worry. Whereas strike is just super safe against everyone except for UI. Actually, against UI after you tap attack, it's really important that you consider actually instead of using strike to clash with him, do blast, because his blue card has no blast armor, his strike has no blast armor, and in the case that he does blast, if you have 2 blasts, you'll win anyways. So it's just really nice to have that on hand, and to keep that in mind when you're fighting UI, because a lot of people don't necessarily consider that. Like, you might think, oh, but if you always start with always start with Strike, chances are you're going to neutral clash, not against his blue. His blue will actually screw you over, whereas your strikes against his blue will screw him over. So knowing the AI's blues makes a huge difference. Now, at this point, we've killed off 4 bars of health. Kefla and Jiren are on their last legs. Now, here, they're not doing anything, which was wasting timer counts, which really annoyed me, but I figured I don't really have much of a choice. I have to just keep going, and hopefully I can kill one of them before 80 timer counts. That is the ideal scenario here, but obviously right here, I get hit, and unfortunately, I realize I can't afford to lose 18. 18's too valuable, so if I have to lose someone, I'll lose Kefla, and in case that she doesn't die, I have a good unit to counter Jiren immediately. And as you can see, she's alive. I knew that he was going straight into a new attack, so I figured PV time, and then we're going to go straight into an ult because I figured UI was coming in right after. But I was wrong, it was Kefla, so I could have just straight up kept on attacking with her strikes, but it's fine. Here I was hoping for a feint, didn't get it, so switched over, vanished, went straight into a blast, and then just basically kept going, and then went straight into an ult because I figured UI might show up. Didn't show up, so I kept on just psyching myself out, unfortunately, but this did kill before 80 timer counts, which felt phenomenal, because that is basically what I knew I needed in order to make sure that I had this game in the bag, potentially. Now, I lost 21 here, but I didn't want to chance 18, so I figured to myself, well, she did her job, she got her ult in, she did everything right that she needed to do, so it was just a matter of, okay, I'd rather keep 18 healthy as much as possible. And as you can see here, we missed out, but it's fine. We're just going to take all the hits. It's going to suck, but we have no choice because I missed out. I actually just straight up missed, and there's not much I can do. So as you can see here, swapped again because I would rather lose Kefla than 18. 18 is super mandatory for this final timer count if I want to actually be able to kill UI and Jiren. And as you can see here, I lost Kefla. So that means now, if I just take one more combo, like unfortunate actual combo, instead of just like one card arts, 18's dead, and it's over. So this was my very first run, and my very first run was definitely a lot more shaky than my second run. I also have my second run, where I did a lot better. Like, oh my god. I don't have it in full because I recorded only the fights that I thought were really cool to record, which was a mistake. I should have recorded everything, but I figured I didn't want to record fights number 1 and 2. I figured they were just a waste of time to record, so I was just like, well, I'm not going to record those. I'm just going to record 3, 4, and 5 again. So if you guys want to see the second run and how much easier it was for me, I can show that too. That's not a big deal. And as you can see, now we're down to basically 55 timer counts left, and Jiren and Goku are on their last legs. Now, obviously, Jiren more so than Goku, but that's not to say much other than the fact that we are able to essentially really mess up Goku, which feels really good considering he is a butt to deal with. And as you can see here, we are now in a situation where I have to essentially kind of control the fight as much as possible in a way that I'm able to still get Vanish Gauge as soon as UI comes back. And as you can see, I did it, and I'm able to PV into a finish. And so with 32 timer counts remaining, Android 18 decimates the entire team, with the help of obviously Kefla and Android 21. But with that being said, guys, that's the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't hesitate to tickle the like button if you haven't already subscribed, and click on the bell for notificaciones so you never miss on my videos. Have yourselves a salty day, and I will see you in the next video.
Toshi, give me CC.